Yesterday I went to the store and saw that Mighty Number Nine's signature legendary edition, or whatever you want to call it, has actually dropped about $50, down to the price of a full retail AAA game. Now, I know I made a video a long time ago on Mighty Number Nine and saying where the fuck was it, and I guess I got my answer. Not in the way I initially hoped for, but I got the answer. The game officially came out, and apparently it is shit. Now, of course, I'm showing you Hitman gameplay on the screen over here. I didn't actually buy Mighty Number Nine. I played it at one of my friends who's actually a pretty intense backing member of the Kickstarter campaign, but he ended up getting a copy of the game for PlayStation 4, and we played a bit of it on there, and, well, I played a little bit, about an hour and a half, and I just wasn't feeling the game. I guess even for me, who didn't have a lot of hype to begin with on the game itself, was pretty underwhelmed. I can only imagine what people who actually played the game felt like. Of course, some people enjoy it, and that's its own subjective thing. I'm not going to sit here and say what everyone has already said in multiple other videos. If you trust review scores, try playing the game for yourself, see if you like it. I didn't enjoy it, but maybe you might. I don't know. But regardless, we all know the game came out, and it came out on almost every fucking platform imaginable. And the game has apparently individual problems on different platforms. So it's kind of interesting. It has some issues exclusive to the Wii U, some issues exclusive to PC, some issues exclusive to PlayStation, and some to whatever other system it's out on. So it's pretty intense. And of course, for me, I've programmed, and from my background, I can say straight up that when you're releasing an application or a program or a game on so many different systems, you're bound to have a lot of problems, okay? For me, that was a given. I knew this game was going to be a clunker day one launch, okay? I knew with the list of how many systems they were targeting for, we all knew it was going to be a performance problem for everything. That's not a shock. If people are genuinely shocked about that, don't be. That was to be expected, okay? Developers have a hard enough time dealing with just 3 static systems as it is, when one of them is like a PC where you have so many or so many different combinations to test for. Adding PS4, Xbox One, well, that's easy, but adding Wii U, Nvidia Shield, and all this kind of crap to it, that's pretty difficult. That can really screw up somebody's game development time. Even for big developers, that can screw you over. So for people the size of Concept, I can kind of get behind that. I can sort of give them a leeway. But still, it doesn't excuse the fact that this game has had such a delay, and it came out so piss poor broken, when if you look just 5 minutes on any of the platforms' respective stores, if you go onto the PlayStation Store, the ID at Xbox One Store, Steam, any other client that deals with digital distributions of games, you'll find so many better indie games out there that not only look better, that not only play better, that not only have more ambitious qualities to them, but they run better and are more fully complete. So again, my whole thing is that when $4 million was ultimately given to this Kickstarter campaign, where the fuck did $4 million go? Clearly not into Mighty Number Nine, let me tell you that. Clearly not into this game, because if $4 million US were put into this game with the team, remember, Concept's team isn't exactly rookies either, they're seasoned vets. Should have been a great game. Literally, to make a clone of Mega Man should not be difficult from the team that has actually made Mega Man games. That shouldn't be a difficult thing to pull off, okay? That should be something that they're very comfortable with. It's not like, oh, we made platforms our entire life, fuck, let's make a survival horror game. No, those are 2 different genres, we get it, okay? This is the exact same genre you work in. What the fuck's the issue? Down to the point where this game is actually priced at the same price, at my GameStop at least, the one that I've went to, with the Mega Man HD, I think it's the Mega Man Legacy Collection is what they call it, for the PS4, Xbox One, 3DS. You're better off actually getting that collection, because those games are infinitely more better than this one, and you'll probably get more playtime out of them, because I heard this game is incredibly short, down to the point where I think even the credits being 4 hours or longer than the core game themselves. But then again, I played short games, whatever, that's not the issue. Each game is independent, and each game has its pluses and minuses, and who knows, maybe that wasn't that big of a minus for this individual game. But regardless, the people that are behind this game, the people that have backed this Kickstarter and have received their games, and the people that have bought it, are genuinely not as impressed as I think Concept initially wanted to. The game obviously has received numerous low review scores across the board, and again, I would like to say review scores are not indicative of game quality, okay? There's plenty of games with really shitty review scores. Go play Nier, for example, on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3. That game didn't really get amazing reviews either, but it was still a pretty decent game. Not that it didn't have its issues, but it was still a very decent game all the way through. I actually ended up playing it, and it is a very, very fun game. If you ever get the chance to pick up Nier, N-I-E-R, for Xbox 360 or PS3, fucking do it. It is actually not that bad of a game, as the review scores would make it out to be. But regardless, Mighty No. 9 is not even close to that game's technical caliber or that game at all. Mighty No. 9 is simply a fucking platformer, okay? It's a Mega Man game. And again, I would love to stress, there are games that are made on a lesser budget than that game, than Mighty No. 9. $4 million US. Okay? I want you to sit back and think about it. There are indie developers who work on a fraction, a very small fraction of $4 million US. They wish they could have $4 million US to work on a fucking game, but they don't. All right? There are actually AAA games that you can look at that have that $4 million is a considerable chunk of their budget. But $4 million put into a platforming game that honestly isn't fucking great. In fact, there's so many conspiracy theories that have come out of it, some that I actually believe, where Capcom basically set up their Phantom Development Studio concept to basically fuck over a Mighty No. 9 game so they can release a Mega Man game later with greater fanfare. I don't know. Maybe that's a conspiracy. Who knows? You can look into it, alright? That's fucking weird. Alongside that is $4 million spent into this. Some people think that $4 million was silently shuffled to the new Recore game that's coming out from Kaiji Inafune themselves. And I don't know what the whole thing is. I don't know where the $4 million went. And that's one of the big problems, is the whole transparency thing with Kickstarter, okay? For me, going back to Kickstarter, I can't trust Kickstarter campaigns, all right? Simply because a lot of people have tainted the idea of a Kickstarter campaign. A lot of people who are high profile, who actually have the funds to cover their game, come out and ask for money from fans or, you know, people who really wanted to. And the thing with Kickstarter is that it's very different almost from like actual investing into games, because let's be honest, all right? If you're a venture capitalist, right, and you invest, say, $200,000, $300,000 into something, which it happens, people invest a lot of money in large chunks for certain products, right? And for them, they have accountability, okay? They have full legal documents, they have God knows everything, and if something is fucked up on Concept's end and a venture capitalist wanted full transparency, they would fucking get it. But the thing with Kickstarter is people put $20, $30, $40 into something, $100, and with that little amount put in by tons of people, Concept doesn't, nobody has to be accountable for anything. You think somebody, when they put $20 into a fucking Kickstarter tier and they don't get their Kickstarter, you know, benefit back, you think they're really gonna spend extra money trying to fight this case and try to get their little $20 goodie that they put into Kickstarter? No, of course not. So therefore, accountability gets thrown out the fucking window. And Concept, they don't have to give a shit, okay? Nobody has to care about it, okay? Kickstarters like that, that's why I cannot trust something like Kickstarter, because a lot of people end up abusing the system because it is so easy to abuse. Now, of course, not everyone on Kickstarter is an abuser, but the thing is, there has been so many cases where even people who didn't have the intention of screwing somebody over has ended up losing faith in their project or have given up in their project, and because they end up having the money, they necessarily don't even have to return it at all. Okay, there's no real accountability happening. Now, of course, Kickstarter steps up and they try to actually change their TOS so that there's less abuse in the system happening. But at the same time, there is still abuse in the system occurring on a daily fucking basis. In fact, there's so much abuse to the point where it's actually kind of hard for anybody to fight back against this too. There's no way you can really put some trust into companies that are running these campaigns. And when big companies do it, like really big companies run Kickstarters, then it starts to get really fucking shady. But at the end of the day, it's a Kickstarter campaign that did come to fruition, okay? The game did come out, but it didn't come out at anybody's expectations. This game came out way too fucking late, alright? Way too late. Alright, in the time span of this game's development, there have been full AAA games that have been developed. There's actually been a lot of indie developers that have come out and created massive franchises, alright, and good franchises too. There are indie developers that are creating projects that are really, really, really fucking intense. So intense that it's actually mind-boggling how small teams are doing this kind of stuff nowadays. And then you have Mighty No. 9. okay? Mighty Number 9 at the end of the day is a platforming game, okay? It's a Mega Man clone, and they're not difficult to make, all right? There's a lot of indie developers that have made Mega Man clones, good Mega Man clones. I'm not even talking about purely ROM hacks, like games built off of other engines or even custom in-house engines, okay? There are people that have made their versions of Mighty Number 9, and they are better, okay? This is a game that was a $4 million Kickstarter blunder, all right? From talented people, no less. These are talented individuals making this shit. And it ended up coming out like this. And it's just sad. Some people can tell me, oh, Mutahar, you know, people like you made them rush it. No, I didn't make anybody rush anything, okay? When I made my initial video on Mighty Number 9, this game was going through online connectivity tests. What the fuck does that even mean, okay? When I made that video, a lot of people, some people said that I wanted them to rush games. I wanted them to rush its release. No. What I mean is that if the game doesn't have online functionality, you might as well release it early and patch that shit in later. I didn't know at the time that the game had this many glaring performance issues all across the board. If I knew that, I would really wish they take their time to at least finish the game up and send it out. Because at this point, it was way too late, and then to release it is another stab in the fucking chest to your Kickstarter backers, because the game didn't turn out to be that great, and also, it didn't turn out to run that great. Now, of course, it makes looking at any Kickstarter really shady in the end, and then it makes the reputation of a well-known game designer look like a con man, but ultimately, the only one to blame is that individual himself. Ultimately, that has been what happened to Mighty Number 9. Of course, I've went all over the place in the video. I've covered a multiple different amount of points here. I think I've covered everything I wanted to say. I really have nothing else to add to the whole Mighty Number 9 issue, except I wanted to bring closure to it because, to be honest, ever since I made that video and about a year before, I was always wondering what happened to this game. It was one of the hottest subjects of 2012, 2013, okay, when Concept was really sticking the middle finger up to, Capcom. Now, at this point, I would much rather spend that $35 that it costs at GameStop and put, to subtract $10 out of it and put that into, say, Resident Evil 5 for PS4. Sure, I'm getting a remaster, but at least I'll be getting a game that, I'll actually enjoy out of it. And, before anybody judges me and says Resident Evil 5 was a shitty game, we all have our little personal, love. We all have our little guilty pleasures. RE5 is mine. And, hey, maybe I might get it, but at the end of the day, it's kind of sad what happened to Mighty Number 9, a brilliant game maybe, when it initially was conceived, when people were playing the demos, and it turns out to be, it turns out to be this. It's kind of sad, and ultimately I'd like to ask you what you thought about this Mighty Number 9 fiasco in the comment section below, and let me know what your thoughts are on it. I'd really love to hear them. Of course, that's the whole point of these videos. Ultimately, this is me, Mutahar, and if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like it if you dislike it. I am out.